This is Yin, and these are conversations about discipline, direction, and identity, and how they quietly shape who you become. If you care about moving through life with intention, you're in the right place. If you're not there yet, but you want to be, stay. But if you're looking for shortcuts, noise, or motivation without responsibility, this isn't for you, and that's by design. Now, for those of you who are still here, this is where the work begins. This particular topic hits pretty close to home for me because it's something that I've dealt with and still deal with today. This is also a topic that plenty of other podcasts have spoken on, plenty of motivational speakers. However, this is the yin version of it, so I'll try not to repeat what you've heard a dozen times. There's a specific feeling that nobody talks about honestly. You're in a room full of people who love you, people who have known you for years, and you feel completely alone. Not because something went wrong, not because of an argument or a falling out, just because somewhere in the process of becoming who you're becoming, distance appeared. And you don't know what to do with that because you still love these people, but you're just not sure whether they can go where you're going. And admitting that feels like a betrayal. So instead, you say nothing. You show up. You perform the version of yourself they're comfortable with, and you carry the weight of that quietly. That feeling has a name, and that's what this episode is about. We love to talk about growth as if it's purely additive, like you just become more focused, more disciplined, more intentional, and everything else stays the same. But that's not how it works. Growth is also subtractive. It changes what you can tolerate. It changes what conversations you feel worth having. It changes what you need from the people around you. And it changes who belongs in the room. Not because those people are bad, not because the history wasn't real, but because the direction you're moving in requires something from the people closest to you. And that's not a tragedy. It's just the truth about what serious movement costs. Here's where most people get stuck. The guilt. Because you were raised to believe that loyalty means consistency, that real relationships survive everything, that if someone has been there through the hard years, through the lean years, through the version of you that wasn't ready yet, then you owe them proximity to the version that you're becoming. And that belief will cost you everything if you let it. Let me say this, loyalty is real, but loyalty to a person and proximity to that person are not the same thing. You can love someone completely and honestly and still recognize that where you're going is somewhere they either can't reach or don't want to. And that's not disloyalty. That's just clarity. And clarity, as uncomfortable as it is always more honest than pretending. All the other times you've heard this topic, the part that doesn't get spoken about enough is that keeping the wrong people close isn't neutral. It feels neutral. It feels like love, like not abandoning where you came from, but it has a cost because the people in your closest circle shape what feels normal to you. That shapes your ceiling. They shape what ambitions feel reasonable and which ones feel like getting ahead of yourself. They shape whether your silence is respected or questioned, whether your direction is supported or quietly undermined. And if people closest to you are not aligned with where you're going, you will unconsciously shrink to stay in the room with them. One conversation where you downplay what you're building, one decision where you choose the familiar over the necessary, 1 year where you look up and realize the life you were building got smaller without you deciding to make it smaller. That's the cost nobody counts. And it's real. Look at the most successful people in the world. Not the persona, not the highlight reel, the actual person behind the outcome. Most of them will tell you the same thing if they're being honest. The higher you go, the smaller the circle gets. Not because successful people are cold, not because they stop caring about connection, but because the road itself thins out. Most people are not willing to pay the serious cost for that growth. And as you get further down the road, the people who started with you either fall back, take a different path, or simply can't match the pace. And you realize one day that the summit you were climbing towards is a quiet place. There are very few people up there. And this is the part that none of the motivational speeches speak about. Success is real, the rewards are real, but the loneliness is real too. And pretending otherwise doesn't prepare you for it. It just makes it hit harder when it arrives. The most dangerous version of this loneliness isn't the kind you feel when you're alone. It's the kind you feel in a room full of people, surrounded by those who know your name, but not your direction. People who celebrate your wins, but have never sat in silence while you were there building them. That specific loneliness is the loneliness of being surrounded but unseen, is the one that quietly breaks people who weren't prepared for it. So consider this your preparation. The road gets quieter as it gets more serious. That's not a sign that you're doing something wrong, but a sign that you're building something real. And the few people who are still walking beside you at that point, who didn't need you to explain the journey, who showed up in the silence, those are people who are everything. You'll know them when you find them. There won't be many, and there doesn't need to be. This is the part of yin that sounds simple until you actually live it. Moving in silence doesn't mean just not announcing what you're doing. It means accepting that some people will never understand what you're building. And that's not a problem to solve. It's just a reality you need to accept. Because when you stop explaining yourself, when you stop performing your growth for people who aren't ready to receive it, some relationships will fill the gap. Some people will take it personally. Some will call it distance. Some will call it arrogance. Some will say you've changed. And they'll be right. You did change. That was the point. The question you have to answer honestly is this: who in your life is genuinely there for where you're going? Not who loves you, not who's been there, who is actually for this, the direction, the discipline, the version of you that's still being built. Those people stay close. Everyone else, you love them from an honest distance. I'm not going to tell you to cut people off. That's not what this is. I just want you to do something harder than that. I want you to be honest about what you're carrying. Think about 5 people you spend most of your time with. Not who you wish you spent time with, who you actually spend time with. Now ask yourself, when you're around them, do you expand or do you contract? Do you talk about where you're going or do you quietly leave that part out? Do you feel seen or do you feel managed? You already know the answers. The question is whether you're willing to act on what you know, not dramatically, not with a conversation or a confrontation, just with an honest internal decision about what you protect and who you protect it from. Not everyone can go with you. And the sooner you make peace with that, the sooner you stop carrying the weight of trying to bring everyone along. Some people are meant for a season, and you've heard this before. Some relationships serve a version of you that no longer exists. And holding on to them out of guilt, out of loyalty to a past version of you that is gone, doesn't honor them. It just slows you both down. The people who are meant to be in your next chapter will recognize you, and you won't have to explain it to them. You won't have to convince them. They'll just be moving in the same direction, quietly, intentionally, without needing the world to understand. That's the circle. Small, honest, aligned. Build that and protect it. and release the rest with love. Because not everyone can go, and that's okay. This is yin. If this resonated, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Not everyone, just someone who's ready. You can find Yin Worldwide Podcast on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. And if you want to go deeper, visit our website at liveyin.com. That's www.liveyin.com. Subscribe if you're committed to the work. If not, that's fine too. This isn't for everyone. Remember, move with intention.